Linda Martinez had always been patient with her Homeowners Association's most notorious member, Karen Whitmore. At 68, Linda was a formidable woman with silver-streaked hair and sharp green eyes that had managed countless rebellious teenagers during her 35-year career as a high school principal. Her reputation for calm and calculated responses preceded her, making her a respected figure in the Palm Grove retirement community. The community, nestled in the outskirts of Phoenix, Arizona, was a meticulously maintained development that prided itself on its immaculate landscapes and strict community guidelines. Every lawn was a canvas of perfection, every hedge trimmed with surgical precision. And at the center of this manicured world was the ongoing silent war between Linda and Karen Whitmore. Karen, a 55-year-old former real estate agent, had made it her personal mission to micromanage every aspect of the community. Her days were filled with measuring grass heights, checking paint colors against the approved palette, and writing lengthy complaint letters to the HOA board. She wore her position as the head of the community's architectural review committee like a military decoration, complete with reading glasses that she would dramatically lower to emphasize her points. The golf cart, a gleaming white club car precedent with custom tan leather seats, was Linda's most treasured possession. It had been a gift from her late husband, Robert, a man who had spent his entire career as a naval engineer and understood the value of maintaining something with love and precision. When Robert passed away 3 years ago, the golf cart became more than just a vehicle. It was a memorial, a connection to the memories they had shared during their retirement years. Linda kept the cart in a specially designed garage section, complete with a dehumidifier and protective cover. Every Sunday, she would meticulously clean and polish it, checking tire pressure, battery levels, and inspecting every inch for the slightest imperfection. The cart wasn't just transportation. It was a ritual of remembrance, a way to feel close to Robert. Karen had long coveted the cart, believing that as the self-appointed community manager, she had some inherent right to use community assets. She had repeatedly suggested that the golf cart should be a community resource, conveniently ignoring the fact that it was Linda's personal property. Her attempts to persuade the HOA board had been met with Linda's calm but firm resistance. "Not everything's a community asset, Karen," Linda would say, her voice steady and controlled, a tone that had silenced many a rebellious teenager during her years as a principal. "Some things are personal, and they deserve respect." But Karen was not one to be easily dismissed. She saw Linda's attachment to the cart as a challenge, a puzzle to be solved, an opportunity to assert her perceived authority over the community. Little did she know that her impulsive nature and sense of entitlement would soon lead her into a situation that would become the stuff of retirement community legend. The Bridge Club met every Wednesday at the community center, a ritual Linda had maintained since Robert's passing. It was her one consistent social outlet, a place where she could engage in friendly competition and maintain her strategic thinking skills. On this particular day, Linda had arrived early, meticulously arranging her personalized bridge markers and carefully organizing her score sheets. Karen had been watching and waiting. For weeks, she had been plotting her opportunity, convinced that the golf cart would be the perfect tool for her self-appointed community inspection duties. Her recent crusade involved investigating what she believed were suspicious drainage issues in the community's undeveloped backlots. The HOA board had repeatedly told her that professional surveys had found nothing concerning, but Karen was not one to be deterred by expert opinions. The Martinez residence sat at the end of Saguaro Lane with a slightly angled driveway that provided just enough cover for Karen's schemes. She had noted Linda's precise routine, Bridge Club from 1 o'clock to 4:30 p.m., with a stop at the community coffee shop afterward. This Wednesday was perfect. The morning's light rain had left the ground slightly damp, creating what Karen imagined would be ideal conditions for her thorough investigation. Dressed in her standard inspection outfit, khaki pants, a crisp white button-down shirt, and a windbreaker, with multiple pockets filled with measuring tapes, notebooks, and an assortment of pens, Karen approached Linda's garage. The garage door was closed, but the side door remained unlocked, a habit Linda had maintained from years of living in a seemingly safe community. The keys hung exactly where Karen had observed them countless times before. A decorative hook shaped like a golf club, a gift from Robert that Linda had kept as a cherished memento. Karen's hand trembled slightly as she reached for the keys, a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation coursing through her. She had justified this potential transgression in her mind numerous times. It wasn't stealing, she told herself, but a community service. The golf cart gleamed in the afternoon light, its white exterior polished to a mirror-like finish. Karen ran her hand along the leather seat, feeling a sense of triumph. She imagined the detailed report she would compile, the impressed looks she would receive from her fellow HOA members. In her mind, she was not borrowing the cart. She was commandeering a community resource for the greater good. With practiced movements honed from years of real estate open houses and property inspections, Karen slid into the driver's seat. The cart's battery was fully charged. Linda always maintained her equipment meticulously. She adjusted the seat, found the ignition, and with a twist of the key, the cart hummed to life. What Karen didn't realize was that her quick inspection would be anything but routine. The undeveloped back lots of Palm Grove retirement community held secrets she was about to discover, secrets that would turn her meticulously planned expedition into a disaster of epic proportions. As she drove out of the garage, a mischievous smile played on her lips. Karen Whitmore was about to embark on what she believed would be her most significant community service to date. The backlots of Palm Grove retirement community were a testament to the developer's original vision. Undeveloped land intended for future expansion, now a wild patchwork of desert vegetation, hidden arroyos, and unexpected terrain. What looked like solid ground from a distance was actually a treacherous landscape of deceiving surfaces, created by years of intermittent rainfall and desert climate. Karen initially approached her inspection with the same methodical precision she applied to her real estate days. She pulled out a leather-bound notebook, its pages already filled with previous community findings that had frustrated the HOA board. Her bifocals perched precariously on the end of her nose, she began documenting what she saw: scattered mesquite bushes, patches of dried grass, and what appeared to be slight depressions in the ground. The recent rainfall had transformed the landscape in ways Karen didn't understand. What looked like firm ground was actually a complex network of soft earth, hidden mud pools, and unstable terrain. Each turn of the golf cart's wheel disrupted the delicate balance of the soil, creating a suction effect that would soon become her worst nightmare. Her first mistake was veering off the barely visible service path. The cart's tires, designed for manicured golf courses and smooth community roads, were no match for the unpredictable desert terrain. Karen's confidence grew with each passing minute, believing she was uncovering some grand conspiracy about the community's land management. "I'll show them," she muttered to herself, referring to the HOA board members who had repeatedly dismissed her concerns. "There's something here. I know it." The Arizona sun beat down mercilessly, creating a shimmering heat that distorted her perception of the landscape. What seemed like solid ground was actually a complex ecosystem of mud, clay, and hidden water channels. Karen's golf cart navigation became increasingly erratic. She would stop, measure something with her tape measure, make a note, then continue driving, each movement slowly digging her deeper into trouble. By the time she realized something was wrong, it was too late. The first sign came when the cart's right wheel sank slightly, creating a soft, sucking sound. Karen adjusted her position, pressing the accelerator, a fatal mistake. The wheel spun, creating a mud fountain that splattered her carefully pressed khakis and white shirt. Panic began to set in. This was not the controlled environment of a real estate open house or an HOA meeting. This was raw, unforgiving desert terrain that cared nothing for her authority or meticulous planning. The more she tried to maneuver, the deeper the cart sank. Mud began to climb up the wheels and the body of the cart, moving with a slow, inexorable progression that seemed almost deliberate. Her carefully organized notebook was now a mud-splattered mess. Her windbreaker, once crisp and professional, hung limply, covered in a mixture of dirt and moisture. The pristine golf cart, Linda's prized possession, was slowly being consumed by the landscape. Karen's mind raced. How would she explain this? The HOA board would never believe her detailed account of what she was certain was a critical land management issue. Her reputation, carefully constructed over years of community involvement, was literally sinking into the ground along with the golf cart. The silence of the desert was broken only by the occasional sound of mud bubbling around the trapped vehicle and Karen's increasingly frustrated attempts to free herself. What had started as a mission of community service was quickly becoming a personal disaster of epic proportions. The Bridge Club at the Palm Grove Community Center was more than just a game for Linda Martins. It was a carefully orchestrated social ritual. Today's session had been particularly engaging, with the challenging rubber bridge tournament that demanded her full concentration. Her partner, Margaret Simmons, was a retired mathematics professor with a strategic mind that matched Linda's own. As the final hands were played and scores tallied, Linda noticed a series of missed calls on her cell phone. The first was from her next-door neighbor, Bob Thompson, a retired air traffic controller with an eye for detail. The second and third were from other community residents, their messages becoming increasingly urgent. "Linda, you might want to check on your golf cart." Bob's voicemail began, his tone a mixture of concern and poorly concealed amusement. "Something's. Well, you should probably come home." The community's grapevine was already buzzing. By the time Linda finished her customary post-bridge coffee at the community center, whispers and not-so-subtle glances followed her. Sarah Jenkins, the community's most notorious gossip, cornered her near the exit. "Of Linda," Sarah said, her eyes glinting with barely contained excitement. "Something's happened with your golf cart. Everyone's talking about it." Linda's mind raced. Robert had always taught her to remain calm in any situation. She'd managed high school discipline for decades. How bad could this possibly be? She thanked Sarah with her characteristic composure and headed to the parking lot. The drive home was a symphony of incoming text messages and phone calls. Bob Thompson called again, this time more directly. "You're going to want to see this," he said. "Karen Whitmore has done something, well, spectacular." As Linda turned onto Saguaro Lane, she saw the first signs of a community-wide event. Neighbors were gathered in small clusters, pointing and whispering. Golf carts from the community's maintenance team were lined up near her driveway. Several residents held their phones, clearly documenting something. Bob met her halfway down the street, a mix of concern and barely contained laughter on his face. "It's your golf cart," he explained. Karen took it without permission. "And now?" He gestured towards the back lots, unable to complete his sentence. A search party was quickly organized, with Linda leading the way. The community's maintenance team, led by George Rodriguez, a former military logistics expert, began preparing equipment. Tow straps, winches, and communication radios were pulled from trucks with military-like precision. "We've got a situation," George muttered, studying a topographical map of the back lots. "Those areas can be tricky after rain. Soft ground, hidden water channels." Linda remained calm, her years of administrative experience keeping her focused. This wasn't about the golf cart. Not entirely. This was about respect, boundaries, and the unwritten rules of their close-knit community. As they ventured into the back lots, the terrain became increasingly challenging. What looked like solid ground from a distance revealed itself as a treacherous landscape of soft earth and hidden mud pools. The maintenance team moved carefully, using long poles to test the ground's stability. And then they heard it, a distant, frustrated yelling that could only belong to one person. Karen Whitmore was trapped, and her predicament was about to become the most talked-about event in Palm Grove retirement community history. The rescue operation quickly became a spectacle that would be etched into Palm Grove retirement community's collective memory. George Rodriguez directed the extraction with the precision of a military operation, setting up winch lines and carefully assessing the mud pit that had swallowed Linda's golf cart and Karen's dignity. A crowd of retirees gathered at a safe distance, binoculars and cell phone cameras at the ready. Bob Thompson had already set up a lawn chair, providing color commentary to anyone within earshot. "This is better than our monthly movie night," he chuckled to Margaret Simmons, who was meticulously documenting the event in her notebook. Karen emerged from the mud like a primordial creature, her once pristine khaki outfit now a disaster of brown and green. Mud caked her hair, dripped from her designer glasses, and created a trail of muck with every frustrated step. Her windbreaker hung in tatters, and one of her shoes was completely lost to the treacherous terrain. "This is a complete violation of my rights," Karen sputtered, spitting out a mixture of mud and indignation. "I was conducting essential community business." Linda stood perfectly composed, one eyebrow slightly raised, a look that had silenced countless rebellious teenagers during her years as a high school principal. The contrast between the mud-covered Karen and the immaculately dressed Linda was comical enough to draw barely suppressed laughs from the gathered neighbors. The professional tow truck arrived, its driver, a weathered man named Frank, surveying the scene with a mix of professional interest and barely concealed amusement. "I pulled cars out of some pretty tough spots," he announced to the crowd, but this might be a first. Extraction of the golf cart proved to be a delicate process. The vehicle was nearly completely submerged, with only its roof visible above the mud. George and Frank worked in tandem, using specialized equipment to slowly pull the cart from its muddy prison. Each inch of progress was met with gasps and commentary from the assembled residents. Sarah Jenkins, the community's primary gossip, was in her element. She moved from group to group, her voice rising with each retelling. "Can you believe it?" she would say. "Karen Whitmore stealing Linda Martinez's golf cart and getting stuck in the mud. It's like something from a comedy show." The HOA board members who had arrived on the scene looked simultaneously horrified and fascinated. Harold Green, the board secretary, was furiously taking notes, his glasses perched precariously on his nose. This was going to be the most interesting board meeting in the community's history. When the golf cart was finally extracted, the damage was substantial. Mud covered every inch of the vehicle, seeping into places that would require professional cleaning. Linda's prized possession, a memorial to her late husband, looked like it had been through a war. Karen attempted to maintain her composure, but it was a losing battle. Mud dripped from her hair, her glasses were barely hanging on, and her reputation was in tatters. The once formidable HOA committee member now looked like a defeated cartoon character. "I was just trying to help the community," Karen mumbled, her voice losing its usual authoritative tone. Linda stepped forward, her voice calm and controlled. "I hope you enjoyed your quick ride, Karen," she said, the hint of a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. The gathered crowd erupted in a mixture of laughter, applause, and not-so-subtle whispers. Another legendary community story had. The aftermath of the golf cart incident reverberated through Palm Grove retirement community like a carefully designed social earthquake. The HOA board meeting scheduled the following week was the most anticipated event since the community's annual potluck dinner. Residents cleared their calendars, with some even bringing extra chairs for what they anticipated would be an epic confrontation. Linda Martinez arrived precisely at 6:00 p.m., dressed in a crisp navy blazer that seemed to radiate calm and authority. Karen, still nursing the remnants of her wounded pride, sat at the far end of the conference room, her mud-stained windbreaker hanging on the coat rack like a banner of defeat. Harold Green, the board's secretary, began the meeting with unusual drama. "We are here to discuss an unprecedented breach of community protocols," he announced, adjusting his glasses with a theatrical flourish. The room fell silent, every resident leaning forward in anticipation. To everyone's surprise, Linda did not seek immediate punishment. Instead, she proposed a solution that would become legendary in the community's history. "Karen has demonstrated a passion for community maintenance," Linda began, her voice measured and strategic. "Perhaps we can channel that energy more constructively." The proposal was elegant in its simplicity. Karen would be assigned to the community's maintenance committee, but with specific, well-defined responsibilities. She would be required to undergo training in proper land assessment, work alongside the professional maintenance team, and most importantly, compile detailed reports that would actually be useful to the community. "Consider it community service," Linda said, a slight twinkle in her eye that suggested she understood the perfect form of karmic justice. The golf cart became the unexpected symbol of this transformation. Once professionally cleaned and restored, it was partially repurposed. Instead of being solely Linda's personal vehicle, it would now serve as a community inspection cart, but with strict guidelines. Karen would be responsible for its maintenance, tracking, and proper use under the watchful eye of George Rodriguez and the maintenance team. Bob Thompson, never one to miss an opportunity for commentary, leaned over and Margaret Simmons. "This is better than any reality show," he whispered, earning a sharp but amused look from his bridge club companion. The community watched with a mixture of amusement and respect as Karen slowly transformed. The mud incident had humbled her, but not broken her spirit. She began attending maintenance workshops, learning proper land assessment techniques, and most surprisingly, becoming genuinely helpful. Her first official report was a marvel of precision and actual usefulness. George Rodriguez, initially skeptical, found himself impressed by her newfound attention to detail. The drainage issues she had long complained about were now being addressed systematically, with professional input and community support. Linda's approach had been masterful. Rather than humiliate Karen, she had found a way to redirect her energy, turning a potential conflict into an opportunity for community growth. The golf cart, once a symbol of personal pride, became a tool of collective improvement. As months passed, the mud pit incident became a cherished story, told and retold at community gatherings, bridge club meetings, and during evening golf cart tours. Karen, now sporting a more practical wardrobe and genuine smile, would often be seen driving the very golf cart that had been her downfall, now a symbol of her unexpected redemption. Palm Grove Retirement Community had witnessed something remarkable, a transformation born from an impulsive, mud-filled misadventure, proving that sometimes the most unexpected paths lead to the most meaningful destinations.